Come in from the cold, traveler. Outside, the world has dissolved into rain and darkness. A heavy, whispering Nordic night, pressing softly against every window of the world. But you are not out there anymore. You are here, inside, where the light is low and amber, and the air smells faintly of warm berry tea and clean linen. Feel the gentle sway beneath you, the quiet, steady rhythm of a train easing its way north through the forests of Sweden. You are cocooned in a private sleeper compartment, small and perfect, built just for this, for rest, for warmth, for the slow unwinding of a long day. Pull the blanket a little higher. Let your shoulders drop. Somewhere out past the fogged glass, rain is falling on dark pine and darker water, but none of it can reach you. Not tonight, not here. For the next hour, there is nowhere to be and nothing to do. Only this window, this warmth, this soft and endless traveling stillness. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let the train carry you. Somewhere behind you, the last lights of the station have already faded into the wet dark, swallowed by forest. Ahead, there is only the long silver thread of rail, stretching north into a country of pine and water and rain. You are moving now, really moving, but you would hardly know it, except for the faint, reassuring hum beneath the floor, and the way the raindrops on your window tilt ever so slightly backward, streaking sideways in the wind of your own quiet passage. This is a night train unlike any ordinary journey. It glides rather than rushes. It hums rather than roars. Whatever engine drives it forward is so smooth, so electric, so achingly gentle, that the whole compartment feels less like a machine and more like a held breath, carrying you safely through the dark. Outside, the Scandinavian wilderness has no edges. It simply goes on spruce after spruce, black water after black water, the forest and the lakes blurring into one another beneath a heavy, endless rain. You lean your head against the cool glass, and for a moment, the whole world seems to be made only of two things: warmth within and rain without. The window itself has become something like a living painting. Threads of water race down the pane in constant motion, catching the small reading light beside you and scattering it into 100 tiny, trembling jewels. Somewhere far off, a single porch light flickers at the edge of a lake. A cabin, perhaps, tucked into the tree line, its window glowing the same warm amber as your own. You wonder briefly who might be inside. Someone else, perhaps, wrapped in their own blanket, watching their own rain. Then the light slips behind a stand of pines, and it is gone, swallowed gently by forest and by night. There is a particular kind of silence that exists only in places like this vast, wet, northern places, where forest presses close on every side and lakes lie still and dark beneath a ceiling of rain. It is not an empty silence. It is full of water falling on water, of wind moving low through wet branches, of the endless patient breathing of a forest at rest. The train seems to understand this silence, and it moves gently through it, careful not to disturb what does not wish to be disturbed. Even the click of the rails beneath you has softened into something rhythmic and slow, less like machinery, more like a lullaby measured out in steel and distance. You reach for the small thermos beside your window, smooth pale wood, the lid still faintly warm, and pour a little more berry tea into your cup. Steam rises gently, curling upward and catching, just for a moment, the low golden light of your reading lamp before dissolving into the dark compartment air. The tea is warm on your tongue, faintly sweet, tasting of late summer berries pressed into something rich enough to hold through winter. You wrap both hands around the cup and feel its gentle heat pass into your fingers, into your palms, up through your wrists, as if the warmth itself were being lent to you, quietly, on credit against the cold outside. Past the glass, the land begins to rise ever so slightly long, low hills furred entirely in pine, their outlines only barely visible beneath the rain-heavy sky. Here and there, a lake appears between the trees. Flat, dark, endless, its surface pitted gently by rainfall, its edges lost entirely in mist. These lakes have been here far longer than any track or train. They have swallowed centuries of rain exactly like this, night after night, indifferent and patient, holding beneath their still black water whatever stars might otherwise have shone above, had the sky not been so heavy with cloud. Tonight, there are no stars, only rain and forest, and the soft electric hum carrying you onward. You notice how your own reflection has begun to appear faintly in the window now, ghosted over the rushing dark outside your face, half lit by lamp glow, half dissolved into rain and pine and passing water. It is a strange and comforting kind of doubling. You, here, safe and warm, laid gently over the top of a vast, wet, wild world that cannot touch you. The climate control murmurs on quietly somewhere above your bunk, its warm exhale barely audible beneath the rain, a small mechanical comfort, filling the compartment with air just warm enough to make the blanket feel unnecessary. And yet you keep it pulled close anyway, because the weight of it against your body is its own kind of reassurance. Everything about this space has been designed for exactly this moment. The pale wood paneling, warm and matte beneath your fingertips. The single soft light, low enough not to disturb sleep, bright enough to read one page before your eyes grow heavy. The narrow window, perfectly framing the wide black forest beyond, so that the wilderness becomes something to watch rather than something to fear. You realize, somewhere in the quiet folding of your thoughts, that you have not checked the time in a long while. It no longer seems to matter. Out here in the deep Swedish interior, time does not move in hours. It moves in lakes past, in stands of pine blurred into black, in raindrops chasing one another endlessly down glass. The rain does not relent, but neither does it worsen. It simply continues heavy, steady, endless, a vast gray curtain drawn the entire width of the country, through which your train moves like a single warm ember, carried gently north. You take another slow sip of tea. You feel your shoulders drop another fraction of an inch into the cushions behind you. Somewhere far ahead, the rails curve gently east, following the shoreline of some larger lake you cannot yet see, and the whole compartment tilts, ever so slightly, into the turn a small, cradling motion, like being rocked. Outside, darkness, forest, rain, and water without end. Inside, warmth, tea, low golden light, and you. Let your eyes rest on the window a moment longer. Let the rhythm of rain and rail settle fully into your chest. You are safe here. You are warm here. And the train carries you on, gently, into the deeper dark of the Nordic night. The train continues its slow glide north, and somewhere along this stretch of track, the forest grows older. You cannot see it change, exactly. The pines still crowd close on either side, black and dripping, but you can feel it, the way you feel a room grow quiet when someone thoughtful enters. This is old country, old enough for stories. Settle a little deeper into your blanket. Let me tell you of the ones who are said to live here. Long before there were rails through this forest, before there were engines or electric light or warm compartments such as this one, the people who lived among these lakes and pines believed they were not entirely alone. They believed that every homestead, every small farm carved out of the wilderness, every barn and byre and woodpile, had a quiet guardian of its own. In Sweden, they called him the Tomte. In Norway, sometimes Nis, a small figure no taller than a child, dressed in gray, with a long white beard and a red woolen cap pulled low against the cold. He was said to live in the hayloft, or beneath the floorboards of the barn, or in the dim spaces behind the woodpile, wherever warmth gathered and was least expected. The Tomte asked for very little. A bowl of porridge, left out on the coldest nights, the butter melting slowly into a small warm well at its center. In return, he watched over the house while its people slept. He kept the animals calm in their stalls. He mended what could be mended in the dark hours before dawn. He made certain that whatever slept beneath that roof slept safely. The old farmers were careful never to insult him. To forget his porridge or to laugh at the idea of him was said to invite mischief, a soured bucket of milk, an unlatched gate, a night of strange and restless dreams. But to remember him, to leave the bowl and speak to him kindly in the dark, was to invite a particular kind of peace into the home, a sense that even while everyone slept, something wakeful and kind stood quiet watch. You may find it easy to believe here, in this compartment, gliding through the very forest where such stories were first whispered by firelight. There is something in this landscape, the closeness of the trees, the strange, muffled hush beneath the rain, that makes the idea of small, watchful guardians feel less like fantasy and more like simple explanation. Someone, after all, must account for how a house so far from anything survives a winter this long, this dark, this deep. There were other spirits, too, further from the hearth and deeper in the woods, the guardians not of homes, but of the forest itself. The Old Norse called them by many names, depending on the valley, depending on the region. Some told of the Skagsra, a forest guardian who could appear as a beautiful woman from the front, but whose back, if glimpsed, revealed hollow bark, like a tree split open. She was neither wholly kind nor wholly cruel, simply old, simply of the forest, testing the character of those who wandered too far from the path. Others spoke instead of quieter presences, nameless, formless things that lived in the space between trees, in the fog that gathered low over still lake water at dusk. Travelers said you could feel them rather than see them. A sudden, complete stillness in the trees, as though the whole forest were holding its breath and listening, right alongside you. But always, in every version of these old stories, there is the same underlying comfort. The forest is not empty. It is watched over. Whatever wildness exists out there in the dark and the rain, it is not indifferent to those who move carefully, respectfully, through it. Perhaps that is why, even now, generations removed from porridge bowls and woodpile spirits, this train still glides so gently through the northern night. Perhaps some quiet part of this land still remembers how to look after its travelers. Picture, if you like, a small farmhouse somewhere out there beyond your window, one you cannot see, hidden behind curtains of rain and rows of black pine. Imagine a single warm light burning low in its kitchen window. Imagine, tucked somewhere in its barn loft, a small gray shape curled asleep beside the animals, having finished his porridge, having checked the latches twice, content that all beneath his roof is safe until morning. You are not so very different from that farmhouse tonight. You, too, are a small warm light moving through a vast dark forest. You, too, are being carried gently onward by something quiet and watchful. An engine humming low beneath you, rails laid with patient care by hands long finished with their work. A whole system built simply to make sure that you, sleeping soundly in your bunk, arrive safely wherever you are going. Let yourself believe, just for tonight, that the old stories were a kind of truth after all, not literal perhaps, but true in the way that matters. That something out there in the dark, wet forest wishes you well. That the rain falling so steadily against your window is not cold, but a kind of blessing, offered freely to all who travel through this old and quiet land. The forest continues to blur past, pine after pine, lake after lake, indistinguishable now in the deep dark and heavier rain. Somewhere out there, perhaps, small watchful eyes note your passing and find it good. You take one more slow sip of your tea. It has cooled just slightly, but it is still warm enough to comfort, still sweet with berries. Let the old stories settle over you like another layer of blanket. You are watched over. You are accounted for. The forest, ancient and rain-soaked as it is, means you no harm tonight. Rest a little deeper now. Far ahead of you now, further up the line than your own window can show, there is a small glass tower rising alone from the forest floor. It stands at a remote junction, where two sets of rails diverge, one continuing north along the lake, the other curving east toward a smaller, quieter branch line. And in that tower, tonight as every night, sits a man who has made the rain and the dark and the silence into a kind of home. Let me tell you about him. His name does not matter so much as his work. For now, simply picture him. Middle-aged, quiet-eyed, dressed in a heavy wool sweater the color of pine bark, sitting in a chair worn soft by years of the same quiet weight settling into it. Night after night, shift after shift. The tower around him is small, barely larger than your own sleeper compartment, but it is entirely glass on every side, so that wherever he looks, the forest looks back. Rain streaks down every pane simultaneously, 100 small rivers all around him, and beyond them, nothing but black pine and blacker sky. Before him, a bank of screens glows softly green and amber, each one tracking some small piece of the vast dark network of rails stretching out into the night. Little lights move slowly across dark maps, trains, signals, switches, a whole quiet choreography of steel and electricity, all passing through his hands, all trusted, for these hours, to his tired and steady eyes. He has worked this junction for 11 years now, long enough that the rhythm of it has become something like breathing, automatic, unconscious, a part of him rather than a task he performs. He knows this particular stretch of forest the way another man might know his own garden, which trees lean too far after strong wind, which section of track floods first when the rain runs heaviest, which hour of the night tends to bring the loneliest quality of quiet. Beside him, a thermos of black coffee sits within easy reach, its heat long since faded to lukewarm, though he drinks it anyway, out of habit more than desire. The taste of it is bitter and familiar, a small dark anchor point in a night otherwise made of rain and green glowing screens. He does not mind the solitude. In fact, he has come, over the years, to treasure it, this particular kind of aloneness that is not lonely so much as complete. Out here, there is no noise but rain and static and the occasional low chime of a signal changing color. No conversation to maintain, no expectation but simple, careful attention. Tonight, the rain has been heavy since dusk, a real northern downpour, drumming hard against the glass walls of his tower, blurring the forest beyond into soft gray streaks of shadow and pine. He likes nights like this best, if he is honest with himself. There is something almost musical about heavy rain on glass, a kind of white noise that fills the tower so completely that his own thoughts grow quiet beneath it, settling like sediment in still water. He checks his screens. One light, small and steady, moves slowly along the northern line, your train. Though he does not know this, only sees it as a soft pulse of data, a scheduled presence expected at this hour, moving exactly where it should, exactly when it should. He watches it for a moment. Somewhere out there, he thinks, in that long dark train sliding through the rain, there are travelers curled warm beneath blankets, perhaps already asleep, perhaps watching the same downpour from the other side of the glass. He does not know you, and yet, in some small and quiet way, his whole night is devoted to you, to your safe passage, your uninterrupted rest, your arrival, eventually, exactly where you are meant to be. This is the quiet dignity of his work, to be unseen, unnoticed, and entirely necessary. No passenger aboard your train will ever know his name. None will see his tower, glowing faintly through rain-blurred pine as they pass. And yet every one of them owes some small portion of their safe, warm journey to a man they will never meet, sitting alone in glass and green light, watching over dark rails so that others might sleep undisturbed. He leans back in his worn chair and lets his eyes rest briefly on the rain itself. Not the screens, not the maps, just the water, endless and patient, running down every pane around him. There is something almost meditative in watching rain fall this heavily, this steadily, hour after hour. He has long since stopped finding it lonely. Instead, he finds it companionable, as though the rain itself were keeping him company through the long, quiet hours of the night shift. Somewhere near midnight, he pours the last of his coffee, watches the thin curl of steam rise and vanish against the cold glass behind it, and allows himself a small, private moment of contentment. The tracks are clear. The signals hold steady. Every train on his section of line moves exactly where it should, safely, unhurried, through the vast wet dark of the forest. He glances once more at the small pulsing light that marks your train's position, now curving gently east along the lake, exactly on schedule, exactly as it should be. Sleep well, he might think, though he will never say it aloud and you will never hear it. Sleep well, out there in the warm dark of your compartment. The tracks are clear. The rain will hold. You are being watched over, even now, by hands you will never shake, by eyes that will never quite meet yours, in a small glass tower alone in the endless northern woods. And so the night continues, his glass tower standing quiet sentinel over dark rails, your train gliding smoothly onward beneath his watchful, tired, patient eyes. Two solitudes, briefly connected by nothing more than distance and rain and the quiet, invisible thread of a signal passing safely down the line. Let yourself feel, for a moment, how many quiet hands are holding this night together for you. How much care exists in the dark, unseen, asking nothing in return but your safe and peaceful passage. Rest now. You are held. And now, at last, it is time to rest completely. Feel the shift beneath you. The train has settled into a smoother, slower rhythm, no longer simply moving, but coasting, gliding, gentle as breath. Somewhere far behind, the last curve by the lake has passed. Somewhere far ahead, morning waits, though it is hours and hours away still. And none of that matters now. There is only this, your bunk, your blanket, this small warm room carrying you safely through the deep Nordic night. Look at the bed beneath you properly now for the first time all evening. Notice how plush it is, how carefully made crisp white linen, cool against your skin at first touch, warming quickly beneath the heavy down duvet layered on top. This duvet is thick, substantial, the kind of warmth that has real weight to it, pressing down over your legs, your chest, your shoulders like a hand laid gently there to keep you still. You sink into it fully now. Let your whole body soften into the mattress below. There is nowhere else you need to be tonight, nothing left to watch for, no reason at all to keep your eyes open a moment longer than they wish to be. Outside, the rain has begun to change. The heavy downpour of earlier hours has softened, slowly, into something steadier, quieter. No longer a storm, but a rhythm. A soft, even patter against the glass, so consistent, so unbroken, that it becomes less like weather and more like music. Rain, falling exactly the same way, minute after minute, hour after hour. A hypnotic pulse keeping perfect time with the gentle sway of your compartment. You reach over one last time and switch off the small reading lamp beside you. The compartment falls into a deep, soft darkness, broken only by the faint glow of running lights somewhere far down the corridor, and by the pale reflection of rain still tracing its way endlessly down your window. In this darkness, your other senses seem to grow quietly louder. The low hum of the train beneath you, steady as a heartbeat. The occasional distant click of rail joints passing underneath, softened now to something barely there at all. The rain, endless and even, whispering its same soft rhythm against the glass beside your ear. You are utterly safe here. Whatever waits outside, forest, rain, dark water, the deep, endless night of the north, none of it can reach you. You are cocooned entirely in warmth and stillness and the particular, complete safety that comes only from being exactly where you are meant to be, tended to by hands unseen, carried gently by a whole quiet system built simply to bring you home. Feel your breathing begin to slow, matching itself, almost without your noticing, to the rhythm of the rain outside. In slow and slower still, your limbs have grown heavy now, sinking fully into the mattress, into the duvet, into the deep, unbroken warmth of this small, moving room. There is nothing left to think about tonight. No decisions to make, no plans to hold in mind. Only this warmth and rain, and the gentle, endless glide of the train beneath you, carrying you forward through the dark while you rest completely, entirely, safely asleep. Let your thoughts loosen now, drifting the way rain drifts down glass, without direction, without hurry, simply falling, simply settling, simply being exactly what they are. The forest continues outside, vast and dark and endless. The rain continues with it, patient and steady, and you continue exactly where you are, warm, held at rest. Rest now. The rain continues, soft and steady, against the window beside you. The train glides on, quiet and sure, carrying you gently through the last dark hours of the night. There is nothing left to hold on to, and nothing that needs holding. Only warmth, only stillness, only the deep, unbroken comfort of this small moving haven, cocooned entirely in down and quiet lamplight long since dimmed to dark. Somewhere out there, the forest keeps its old watch. Somewhere far ahead, A lone tower stands quiet guard over your passing, and somewhere closer than either, you are simply here safe, warm, and utterly at peace. Let go now fully. There is nowhere to be but exactly here. Nothing to do but exactly this. Breathe slowly, sink deeply, and drift. The rain will keep falling all night long. The train will keep gliding, gentle and unhurried, toward morning. And you may rest, completely, knowing that every quiet mile is carrying you safely home. Sleep well, traveler. You are warm. You are held. You are safe.